Today's keyword is experimental, 實驗, 實驗, like in experimental drug, 實驗性藥物, 實驗性藥物, or experimental music, 實驗音樂, 實驗音樂. And what would it be like in a sentence? Why would I take experimental drugs? I don't want to be a guinea pig. 我點解食實驗性藥物啊？我唔想做小白鼠啊。我為啥吃實驗性藥物誒？我不想做小白鼠誒。In the non-medical realm, you might hear, I don't really appreciate experimental music. 我唔係幾欣賞實驗音樂。我不太欣賞實驗音樂。I want to say that wraps it up for this episode on 實驗實驗. But I just want to say one more thing. It's lovely if you can learn Chinese compound words as is, but it's also okay if you like to examine them in more detail. So with that in mind, if you are one of the latter, let's go ahead and split up 實驗實驗, and you get 實, 實, meaning real, true, honest, really, solid, fruit, seed, definitely. It's no surprise then that you will find it in words like 事實, 事實, that means fact, or 實際上, 實際上, meaning in fact, in reality, or 證實, 證實, meaning to confirm something to be true, to verify. 老實, 老實, meaning honest, sincere, well-behaved, open and guileless, naive. There are so many more words, but let's move on to the second root of 實驗實驗, the 驗, yen. That means to examine, to test, to check. That gives rise to words like 檢驗, 檢驗. That means to inspect, to examine, to test. Or 驗血, 驗血, or 驗血, meaning to have a blood test. Or 驗尿, 驗尿, a urine test. Or 驗證碼, 驗證碼, that is a verification code, a captcha, the type of challenge response test that you see in a lot of websites to make sure you're a human and not a robot. So, does it make sense that 實, 實, whose meanings are real, true, honest, really, solid, fruit, seed, definitely, and 驗, yen, that means to examine, to test, to check. Together, these two words would give rise to 實驗實驗's meaning of experimental. I guess you could say that it's obvious that 驗, yen, that means to examine, test, check, would strongly have an association with experiment or experimental. Because that's what you do when you do experiments, right? You test things and check things, or examine them over and over again. Now with 實, 實, with the meanings of real, true, honest, really, solid, fruit, seed, definitely, you could say you do need real, true, solid data so as to get a definite, definitive results of your experiment, right? So, I suppose you can really say that the root components of 實驗實驗does make sense to give it the meaning of experimental. And that wraps it up for this episode on 實驗實驗. If you want to hear way more information about all the words used, listen to the podcast. Its link is in the information area below. 大家保重，下次再见啦！大家保重，下次再见吧。